Light the beam! Light the beam! Light the beam! Light the beam!
Oh my goodness, let's see if I remember how to do this. Light the beam. Light all of the beams, in fact. The Sports Cave is back for business. We are back in the Sports Cave, broadcasting live for once. No longer live to tape, broadcasting live from an undisclosed location somewhere here in San Antonio, a familiar location, to say the least, but yet undisclosed location. Hopefully we keep it that way. I am your host, Sam Freas, also known as the Biggest Puma, where we find ourselves 24 days away from the start of the NFL draft. With the show, as always, we got to have something to count down to, got to have something to look forward to. We're going to talk a lot of NFL draft as we get closer. But with this being the live return of the show,
not quite yet.
We've got that. With it being the live return of the show, you're going to hear a few other voices besides just me. If you do want to reach out to me, you can find me on X at Biggest Puma, on Instagram, biggest.puma. I swear I am making a more of a commitment to Instagram moving forward, especially now that we have a bit of additional support on the program. We'll go with that phrase. We'll go with additional support. I am joined, as you can see on camera, across from me here in the room by the captain, Steve-O himself. Captain, let the people hear from you.
Hello, I am Steve-O, the captain. I've made an appearance once or twice on previous shows. I'm excited to be here, and I will get to work on getting all the handles like Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. I'm an old man. I do Facebook. I do Facebook. That's all I do.
So there were past episodes where I said, you know, for all of my boomer affiliates out there, you can also just find me on Facebook, Sam Freas. Nice and easy.
That's it.
And I still catch so much hell because when the roommate sends me anything on Instagram, I see it on Facebook because I'm never on Instagram because I'm still I'm in a reptile, I'm in a snake identification group on Facebook. I am still that much of a boomer. So don't feel bad that you don't have all of the handles. None of them are necessary.
I will get there.
And in fact,
I will come to age sooner or later and break down and get a Twitter.
Hey, Twitter world.
There it is.
Anything.
Thank you, OJ.
Sweet OJ.
Yeah,
rest in peace, Juice.
I have fully given. Well, it's not rest in peace. I mean, I have fully given in on. It is. I think I've broken the habit for the most part. I still call them tweets.
Yeah.
But I at least call it X now.
It was a great name
because I don't want to be charged with any domestic terrorism. Also, I don't know. Do we have a camera in our producing room, or do we just have a disembodied voice of the familiar?
Where is my old friend? Where is he? He's somewhere.
Is he holding out?
Oh.
Hello.
Oh, there
it is. Look at him.
Sorry, I was trying to fix the chat widget.
The ageless wonder himself.
Oh no, it's going to take a minute. I was describing to the boys here, honestly, 30 seconds before we went started. So LG does have a camera, spectacular. No Max Kellerman around the horn, disembodied voice.
No.
Pour one out for around the horn. But I was telling the boys at the beginning of the episode here, this is first of all, think about the last 4 months as your favorite TV show going away at the end of a season. You know, John Oliver takes 4 months off and then comes back for Netflix. Yeah, exactly.
We got picked up by Netflix.
So we had one season came to a close, and we're launching officially. We'll call this season 2 of the Sports Cave with Biggest Puma. But I was describing it to the guys that this is from my PR days in a past life. This is like when you're opening a new restaurant and you have a soft opening. Mm-hmm. We're not even open to the public. This is friends and family.
You got to feel things out.
That's exactly right. And
you got to feel things out.
This isn't even a full stress test where we allow a small amount of the public. This is friends and family. This is, if you were in on this episode, you are getting to see the soft launch of our new restaurant.
Been to many soft launches.
I bet you
I will
have,
tell you
so
that.
to speak.
Many.
I can imagine. I know. I mean, you with your connection to the restaurant industry, restaurant business as well. I know that analogy plays well for you. But first of all, I got to start with just saying how amazing all of y'all, friends and family, have been in supporting the program as it was before, the program as it's going to be going forward. And we're going to talk about that right here off the top. Basically just explaining what we're doing here on a Monday night, doing a live stream, and what you can expect from the program moving forward. First of all, if you are not a YouTuber, if you could care less about seeing us on camera, trust me, I understand. This is not
Wait
something.
a minute. We both got our haircut.
Okay,
Our 1 year haircuts.
We'll
I got
get
it
to
today.
that.
I got it today.
That's going. I
got
appreciate.
prepped. Look at all this.
I did notice
This is
the
good.
beard. I did
This is
notice
very
the
good.
beard. I appreciate your commitment. We'll hit that in the weekend recap. Because I got my second haircut in 15 years.
15.
Yeah, and
I do once a year. I do once a year.
Yeah, you're a better man than I am. But if you don't give a damn about seeing us, fear not. Everything will still be audio only, posted everywhere it had been before. We'll still be
Spotify.
anywhere you get your podcast. Well,
everything.
hold on. First of all, we'll still be on iHeart
Ooh.
because that is still
Coming back,
the key to this whole operation. iHeart, Spotify, Apple, anywhere you get your podcast. We will still be posting the audio version of that. But frankly, doing the audio version for the last few months, doing it all solo is just not good content in my eyes. I mean, I know
It's hard.
The
So
problem,
hard.
I'll tell you, the hardest thing is the only person that was telling me that was me. Everyone else was like, "Oh, it's great, I love it." Like, why? Where are the new episodes at? And I think there's a balance between being overly critical of oneself while also knowing that you're right. And so I think
if you're not feeling it, it's hard to fake and make the audience feel
1,000%.
You
And
gotta
honestly,
feel it.
it started feeling at times like it was more of a early '90s talk radio show where it's
the
just
NPR days.
Well, yeah, or like the early days of one of my like Norm Hitchkiss up in the Metroplex. Just one man ranting. And it didn't help that it was Cowboy season with the Cowboy season from hell that we just went through. And so being the only voice,
great.
I'm sure you loved it. Being your team, we'll talk about your team coming up. Being the only voice trying to describe the dumpster fire that was the Cowboy season, I think that attributed heavily to feeling like it's not good content. I could go on. I could bitch about Jerry every day of my life.
You got to push through it. You got to push
through
through it. The draft is coming. The draft is coming. We'll get to that. We
got 24 days away.
24
days. You got to find something else. And the best solution I could come up with, along with the help of Cap and, of course, LG, was adding more voices to the operation here, which leads me to why we are here on Monday nights, live streaming this now. We're going to do this Monday night, lock it in, 8 o'clock, LG? Lock it in?
Lock it in.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, he's a freelancer.
God, man, I missed those. Yeah, I think the time, we're going to do these Monday nights. And I'll tell you why the time is going to fluctuate, because one, LG is a freelancer and we are at his scheduling, the mercy of his schedule. But two, obviously, summertime is going to be really easy. We're not going to be, there's going to be a lot of baseball on. I know one thing I love about talking sports with you is
my favorite sport.
Exactly. Same with me. It's the sport that raised me to become a fanatic like I am.
Have you seen my baseball?
But come the fall,
Fight through it.
Mondays are dominated by football.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
there is no way we would ask you to try to split your time and attention between us and football. So we're going to, again, this is the soft opening. We're going to be molding the schedule and the operations here. But as far as the content, expect exactly what you got previously with the Sports Cave, now with some additional voices, and then also come Mondays in the fall, potentially pushing that back and being more of a Monday Night Football post-game show where we actually recap all of the NFL that week. So, again, soft opening. We're finding our sea legs.
Ideas will come.
Yeah, I'm not.
We're gonna throw it to the wall, see what sticks.
That is one thing I am not worried about. Is the ideas coming? But biggest thing, so to speak, biggest thing is just appreciate the support, y'all, and appreciate the support moving forward as we start this new endeavor. But as I promised, it will not sound that different than it did before, which means, as always, we start with what I watched last night, and we're going to stretch this really into what we watched last week. Dominating my viewing habits were two things: NCAA Tournament and MLB Opening Week. So that will end up constituting the main segment today. We're going to, of course, talk about the Final Four coming to town this weekend. Going to talk about the early headlines we got coming out of MLB Opening Week. Of course, the Yankees bats stole a lot of those headlines, and I know you have a lot as a Yankee fan. I know you have a lot of hot lumber opinions regarding those bowling pin bats they're using, but we'll get into all that in the main segment. Since we are doing this on Monday nights, it only seems appropriate that we start with a little bit of a weekend recap, because I know, we're we're older by the second, older by the day, but still fairly active and engaged members of our community. So I thought we would start basically every Monday. We'll just start the show with a little weekend recap, roundabout, see what everybody did since the last time we were together. And I should say, we're doing this live stream on Mondays. The Wednesday, we're going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday to start. And we're going to leave some room Tuesdays and Thursdays for me to either, potentially record some interviews to get some guests lined up. Or we are live on YouTube, Sports Cave at Sports Cave Live, but we are also live on Twitch at Sports Cave Live, which brings me.
That's what my son uses.
That's where the kids are at, or at least that's what they tell me.
I'm like, how many apps do you need to talk to each other?
Yeah, Discord. Discord is still waters I'm not swimming in, but now we sound like old men, as I already had burped without using the cough button. Being on Twitch opens up some other opportunities as well, because, of course, if you know me, if you were familiar with me before, if this is the first time you're watching or listening, I am a 39-year-old man who still loves video games, and there is no shame. I have long passed the point where I feel any shame about that. Mainly, it's sports games, because I like to play General Manager and build the team.
It's now a sport.
That's right.
It's a sport. People get paid. There's millionaires that do it. So therefore, no shame. I play video games.
Exactly. And you know what LG does? LG spins records. So potentially in the future on Twitch, maybe Tuesday or Thursday nights, we end up doing a Twitch stream where it's not a show. It's just we're hanging out, playing video games, LG spinning records. Honestly, it's going to
be a fun time.
Yeah, the overarching kind of view I have of this is just come in and hang out with us. Like, we're going to do a show. I've got, of course, my notes. I've got an entire page of notes that we have content, we have structure. But I want it to just be a hangout. I want it to be. We're going to have some potential sit-in guests moving forward. Have throw someone else on the mic for an episode to have, spotlight some of the other content creators, or not even content. Like I've got a local stand-up comedian I'm trying to get booked. So
we're just coming up with new shows, new things,
and
ideas.
We're hanging out. We're hanging out talking sports because sports are fun, so we talk about them. And on top of sports, as I was saying, we talk about what we did this past weekend. And I'll start with this one because the way it worked out, I ended up having one of the busiest weekends I've had all year so far. The weekend before we start doing this thing. So LG, we put the picture out last Wednesday of us meeting and, kind of brainstorming whatever this is going to become. So starting from there, as you mentioned, last Thursday, I got a haircut, and I know that's not headline news. I know a lot of immediately it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. But like, this is the shortest it's been since my wedding day.
I see the curls coming back.
7 years ago, I had it right.
Little curls.
Yeah, no, buddy.
Darling.
So just wait. So Thursday, go in. I got my haircut last Thursday. I got my haircut the day before my wedding. I got my haircut February 19th, 2018, the day before my wedding. Or no, April 19th. Yeah.
I was about to say you about to.
No,
I was
no,
like,
no.
you gonna mess up this day.
April days are.
The roommate's gonna get you. He's like, you don't know our anniversary.
Oh, I'm the one.
You don't know.
I'm the one that can recall the year.
I was
quicker
too.
than she was.
I was.
So I don't have to worry too much about that. But ended up.
It's the fear of getting in trouble.
Yeah.
That's why we remember.
And
we got fear.
1,000%. We have trauma. It's like, that's the. And I'm going to talk about trauma too. Let me propose a question. Who cuts your hair?
It is quite funny. I get my hair cut by one of my best friends. Her name is Casey.
Perfect.
Call her Little Casey.
Her name?
Her name is Little Casey. She owns a salon down in Alamo Heights. One of the most bougiest, fantastic, like, I swear it is premier. The clientele she tells me about, it still blows my mind. But every time I walk in there, it goes dead silent because they're like, who is this mammoth of a man?
Yeah, this guy, one thing is not
basketball
like
shorts
the other.
and a cutoff shirt with scraggly beard walking in here. And I got Casey like, Steve-O! And then they're like, okay, they all can let out a sigh of relief, like they're all not getting robbed.
Yeah, there's a comfort. Yeah, there's now a level of comfort established. Someone.
I was like, y'all are safe.
Someone can vouch for you there.
It's the same joke. My bodyguard's here. I've heard it 1,000 times, and I'm just like, yeah, that's not getting old.
Yeah, no, but I mean, what do you?
Hey,
you don't want to be the a-hole that says it. That's
it's
like,
not the first place I walk in where I shut the room down.
Yeah, that again, as a 6'4" long-haired redneck, I can understand that immensely. So the reason I ask, the last time I got my haircut, the week of my wedding, you can tell how much I was really worried about it then. I just went to a random barbershop. Like nothing, like it was one of these men themed barbershop where it's like, we'll give you a beer
and a back rub from a hot girl.
Well, no,
there wasn't, know where you went.
I wish that would have eased the anxiety of getting married a lot more than just getting a warm
towel on the face.
Towel or the warm shaving cream, and all of that. So I went to one of those.
Awkward back rub. Oh, those poor girls, man. Like, you can tell, like, the weirdo who gets the full package.
Oh, yeah,
They're just like, son of a.
I'm not made for $10. I'm not made for that life. I'm the one that gets awkward before they can even get awkward. Like, I can't do that. But so I went to one of these, like, man-themed barbershops the last time I got my haircut, and I told Steph, told the roommate, I was considering getting another haircut, and she suggested I use her hair girl.
Hey, you have long hair like a girl. Why not go to a girl's salon?
And that's
the way I put it. My hair is. I looked like back in the day. I will not say now. But if you've ever watched Legends of the Fall, Brad Pitt, that was my gorgeous locks. They were beautiful. Full head of hair, blonde, flowing. Yes, the girls were privileged to cut that hair.
See, you were Samson getting the full salon treatment. The logic there makes perfect sense, which is why I immediately agreed to. I mean, the roommate has pink hair. She's got all kind. Her hair chick is really good. I know that because I see Steph's hair. So I had no fear or concern that it would be a bad haircut, but I underestimated a bit of the awkwardness of like
being the only guy in the salon, trying to do the small talk.
Exactly.
Luckily with Casey there, and it's her, she has a private room, so I get to escape that.
I was in a private room, which arguably, again, I in some ways made it worse too, because then it was like, I'm a guy that when I get a haircut or when I get any kind of like a massage or anything where I am stationary and not moving, I don't need a whole lot of conversation. Like we're not here to.
It's the bathroom rules.
Exactly.
We don't talk.
And it's nothing rude. Don't take it as such, but I'm here for a service, not a conversation. I underestimated how much I was going to have to conversate because this is basically an auxiliary friend. I mean, Steph's been going to this girl for 8 years.
Oh, she wants all the dirt.
Of course. And so I am instantly like, and she's telling me about her husband, like, oh, he loves sports. He golfs all the time.
Don't tell me that she tried to set you up without a mandate.
Buddy, we might be on double dates soon. That's
no.
Again,
gotcha.
Great people. They seem like, I mean, it seems like it would be a lot of fun, but I did not really think through.
There was an ulterior motive.
1,000% there was.
Ulterior motive there, man.
And so you mentioned the curls coming back. So I walked out of this salon. She had used some kind of like curling lotion. Mm-hmm. I walked out of there.
She permed it out?
Dude.
She permed it
I
out?
looked like a 1980s middle reliever for the Indians. Like I immediately went home and washed my hair.
You're like, how do I wash this curling agent out?
I couldn't do it.
No, it stays in there for a little while.
Yeah, no, I couldn't live with it. So
Casey gave me a Brazilian, a Brazilian blowout for free.
Whoa,
Hey.
I was about to say, like I
was married at that time.
Yeah. It's just a service.
The wife was very pissed because she's like, you know how much that was? And I'm like, I have no idea. It took way too long. It was 2 hours of like,
it wasn't what I asked for.
And she's like, that's like a $400 thing. And instead of saying your hair looks good, she was just mad.
Yeah, no, she was jealous.
Yeah,
she was jealous.
It was all jealous.
So to show you the dedication, first of all, second haircut in 15 years. That's how you know I'm serious. That's how you know we're on to some. Cap got his haircut. So that was Thursday.
We look good.
Going in, well, we look better. We look better. I'm not ready to go good. Going into the weekend, I mentioned it was one of the busiest weekends I've had all year. It was, for those that don't know, I live downtown, literally, can throw a rock and hit the parking lot of the Alamo Dome there on the east side. And something I love about living downtown is when there is, a big event or a big weekend, the amount of locals that will come downtown that normally wouldn't. And this past weekend was one of those. We had Spurs, we had the Celtics in town, Spurs Celtics, and it was an earlier tip. So by the time we were actually out from the event we were at, which I'll talk about here in a second, the Riverwalk was full of Spurs and Celtics gear. So, it's more locals than tourists because they were at the game.
Yeah.
You're seeing them on the river. I think there was the Aztec Theater had something going on, but we were at the roommate and I went with another couple that invited, and this is one of those moments. It was one of those deals where 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, we were at a random watering hole bar establishment, ran into this couple that we're friends with, hadn't seen in a long time, end up drinking longer than, like, we were getting ready to leave, run into them, end up staying, 3 more hours. It was a great night. So I woke up the next morning and I had a text from the guy that was like, "Hey man, just so you know, I snagged those tickets we were talking about last night." And I was like, yeah, man, looking forward to it.
You're all like, Steph, what did we commit to?
When's the event again? Like, when's the, very generic wording? Like, when is the obligation that we committed to scheduled for?
I need to check my books.
That's exactly right. Oh, buddy. Yeah, turned out all great because what we committed to was actually going to see Taylor Tomlinson, stand-up comedian. She was at Majestic Saturday night. She was actually at Majestic Friday and Saturday night. And if you don't know who that is, she does the After Midnight show, which now it turns out had just been announced that she was leaving that show. So these were her first stand-up dates since that announcement. She has a couple really funny specials on Netflix. But she was someone that, I not necessarily would have thought to get the tickets myself, but I'm glad we ended up going. It was funny. It was really funny. A solid hour, 15-minute, hour, 20-minute set of stand-up. But the biggest takeaway through all of it, a couple notes. First of all, I hadn't been to a comedy show in a while. I don't know about y'all. When
the LOL was Whitney Cummings was the last one I went to.
Funny.
Yeah,
I'm surprised she was only playing LOL Club.
Is that's the one over by North Star, right?
Yeah. It's a comedy club. Yeah.
But this was about 4 years ago.
Okay. I guess her popularity is.
I stick to the North Side. That's going a little south for me.
Yeah. So, first of all, anytime you go into Majestic, it's a great experience just because it's an awesome old theater. It's not great for someone our size to try to fit in those chairs with people in front of you throwing their head back, laughing every 5 minutes.
You have to man spread just to get in there.
Oh, and that alone was a struggle. So as we sit down, I think the opener described Majestic Theater as an evil-looking Disney ride. Like, it looks like an animatronic. It's a small world, but
where you're in the tube and all the scary little animatronic guys are coming around.
Exactly, with the pirates chasing the woman on the old Pirates of the Caribbean. It's what the woke took away from us. The old Pirates of the Caribbean. The first thing I noticed was during the opener. It wasn't even the main headliner yet. During the opener, the guy in front of me is a guy that just yells, "Facts. Facts."
Oh, he's the one that wants attention.
Truth.
He just wants, oh man, I can't stand those people.
So I immediately thought, this is going to be a long night.
Yeah.
If I'm going to have to hear this. But the funny thing is, so the opener was a dude.
Oh.
Taylor Tomlinson is a chick.
The table's about to turn on him.
And not only that, she apparently, I had no idea what the tour was going to be about, but she's apparently just come out as bisexual. Mm-hmm. A lot of good stories to tell there.
I think all girls are bi.
And also,
there's anything wrong with that.
As Rivers Cuomo said, everyone's a little queer. Why can't she be a little straight? It's the first part of it was a lot of her talking about that. And then the second part was religious trauma. She was raised like real strong, like fundamentalist Christian. So it was a lot of things.
Away.
Yeah, it was
man of faith.
It was, that part I can relate to growing up like pseudo Calvinist. But the bisexual part, I did not see coming. And I don't think the guy in front of me saw it coming either, so to speak, because
his attitude changed real quick.
He didn't have a whole lot to say. There weren't a whole lot of facts once she got on the stage, which this is always my favorite thing about seeing a comedy show. When, we were there with another couple, and seeing the dynamic of when a joke gets told and you hear, oh, that was mainly all the women that laughed. And then another joke, it's like, oh, all the dudes thought that one was funny, but didn't hear as many. And then, of course, when you can get them both, it's like, all right, you're hitting both sides.
It's the setup. You got to try to pit them against each other and then bring them all in.
It was full a lot circle. Of the former and not the latter. There was a lot of female laugh track mixed in with my
Oh, so it was one of those the wife's making the plans.
That's correct.
That night.
And again, it's I mean, the set was hilarious. There was nothing. I'm always curious when a more liberal leaning comedian plays a show here.
Yeah.
Just what that crowd is going to be like. She didn't get political or anything, but you talk about religion in this city.
Oh,
that can quickly the crowd can quickly turn on you. But all in all, it was pretty well accepted set. It seemed like a good night, but the some of the specific jokes she was making about the differences of being in a relationship with a man versus a woman, that was about the point where the guy in front of me started looking at the watch, pulled his phone out to look at the Duke Alabama score. Like, oh, wow, Duke's really putting it on him now. This game's getting out of hand. He lost interest pretty quick.
That's one of those things where the guy knows that his girl has been with another girl and is very insecure about that.
I think you might be onto something there.
And he's like, let me get her out of here because she's going to start talking about, oh, it was such a great time. And boom, they got her back.
2 chicks at the same time.
That's right. You don't have to have $1 million to do that. So all in all, it was a pretty eventful weekend. I hadn't been on the Riverwalk in the roommate and I will go, during the day. She works from home, so trying to be more active these days, starting to feel the early onset gout creep in. So just trying to do more. My grandpa will like that joke.
My knees are bad. I'm starting aqua therapy tomorrow, and I can't wait to start cracking up these old blue hairs in the aqua pool.
I was about to say, report back. That sounds like content right there. So we will walk the river in the evening sometimes or in the afternoons on weekends. But I hadn't been on the river after midnight, or really after dark, in a long time. And, we got out of the theater around 11 o'clock, went to one of my favorite spots on the river, went down to Waxy's. I was working at Aztec when Waxy's had the fire. God, what was that now? 5-6 years ago. But I'm proud and happy to report Waxy's is fully back operational. Slinging good drinks for locals down there. This is not a plug. It's just where we ended up. And I say ended up. We ended up closing it down damn near. But just people watching on the river on a Saturday night for the first time in forever, the ratio of full families with multiple kids, even strollers out after 1 a.m., and then you just have a group of British soccer hooligans walking by singing the, anthem of the Three Lions or, singing, some Millwall fight song, whatever it is they're going off on. Just the amount of international tourists, I take for granted. I forget. I did work. My first job ever in San Antonio was waiting tables at the Original down on the Riverwalk. I did that for two weekends because I needed some cash. I think it's still there. I didn't last long, but I'd forgotten just how much international tourism we have, not just from our side of the pond, but a lot of Europeans. But the amount of families out after one, and I understand you're on vacation.
See, this is the thing: is you don't have a kid.
That's correct.
You keep them up as long as possible so you can sleep in. Because if they go to sleep at a normal time, 10, 11 o'clock, you're going back out. You're sitting there calling the hotel looking for like, hey, do you have a babysitter service or something? Or you're just saying, F it, and you go out there and, go to the hotel bar. What's the worst that can happen? but that kid's gonna wake you up at 8 o'clock. Now you keep him up till 3, you get to sleep in a little bit.
Well,
that's a little life hack for you.
I was about to say, hopefully it's a life hack I never have to take advantage of, especially not at this point. But it just blew my mind seeing, we're sitting there getting, we had been drinking at the theater, we're drinking on the locals menu, basically, where the bartender, you order a round for 4 and you only get charged for 2, the locals discount.
Oh, yeah, the locals discount. They just put it on the tourism tab.
Exactly, yeah.
They're like,
they won't
son,
notice.
we're just going to put those last 2 shots over on them. They're not going to notice. They're tanked.
Yeah, all of the...
they're all one eye in it.
Basically, the bottle of Don Julio that we consumed. I didn't see any of that on the tab. Again, this is not a... paid plug. This is just a thank you, Waxies, for giving us the local discount. But it was good. It was a good weekend to be out.
Speaking of tourism, you should have a lot of fun because we got the Final Four coming up.
See, and we're going to talk about that in the main segment because I am driving home last night. We did a little, pre-prep yesterday, trying to get everything in line for tonight. And as I was driving back into the neighborhood, I saw the Charles Barkley Capital One blimp floating right over my house.
Oh, my God.
Right, and it's the one, Barkley's, it's his head out at the front. And it's like his arm with the basketball.
I'm going to have to Google it. I have not seen it.
Google it because the roommate thought it was a giant black dill on the side of it. I was like, no, that's Barkley's.
Say, that could go wrong
that
in
is
so
Barkley's
many
arm.
areas.
She was asking, because she is aware of what's about to happen in our neighborhood this weekend. But, on Sunday afternoon, she's not thinking about that, top of mind. The downtown, the neighborhood's going to be crazy this coming weekend. So, I'll have plenty of content for the weekend recap next week. But it was good to see, the calm before the storm. It was a locals weekend downtown. All the events that brought the locals in, and it didn't feel like we were completely outnumbered by the tourists. Yeah. I mean, we were sitting outside at Waxy's, and there were 3 different groups of people that just walked by that we knew that were either at the game, had been to the game, or and so they were. It's always good. I know
that's what she said.
That's correct. I know a lot of people, give downtown area a lot of hell because it is majority of the time just tourists. So when we get a weekend like that, I love to see it. A good, strong local showing, locals programming, locals-oriented weekend downtown. But, as you mentioned, this next weekend will be quite the opposite of that. So I'm sure that will probably lead to more exciting stories. But as I mentioned, as always, let's go around the room. What I asked LG. I know you've got something for us. I asked LG if he had anything, and I got crickets. I got no reply. So
he's a man of many mysteries.
I passed out early last night after our little rendezvous at that izakaya.
Hey, dude!
That one drink got you.
An izakaya. I think it was the 4 plates and 3 rolls that we ordered.
The ribs.
Yeah, that will knock you.
The Chappelle show.
Izakaya is just a Japanese pub, and that will knock you out if you have it. We ate at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever time it was. But we'll save LG for last. Captain, what? Give us a weekend recap.
Oh, just regular old weekend. Just out and about, but a funny story, which might want to try to do a segment of a how-to video. But
we like funny stories.
I think we do. And so as I'm leaving said pub on North Side, I see these 4 girls, And one of them is she's cracking me up. She's an amputee. She's taking off her leg.
It feels like an unnecessary detail, but go on.
I'll tell you, it'll wrap back in. It'll come full circle.
Okay.
And we're sitting there cutting up. They're about 24 years old, so I'm sure they're straight out of college. And as I'm leaving, they're leaving too, and they're like, "Yeah, we're about to go change this tire." And that was the young lady with the fake leg, and I was like, "Have you ever changed a tire yet?" And she said no. And I looked at all the other girls. I was like, "Have any of y'all changed a tire?" And one girl says, "Don't worry, there's a book. We can just read it." And I already knew right there. I looked at the other girl and was like, "You about to lose your other leg."
Yeah,
I was like,
these girls are in trouble.
I have a 19-year-old, so I was just he learned he wasn't a young he's a man, he's a little man, but I taught him how to change a tire at an early age, and I looked at him. I was like, "So your dad's never changed a tire?" And I got two of them didn't have a dad, and two of them didn't show them how, and I was like, "All right, where's the car? I'll help you out." And of course, their radar detector goes off like this giant older man wants to come help change the tire. Good for them.
Yeah, they should be. They should ask questions.
They all came as a group.
That's smart.
All four of them. And as we get there, I look at them and say, "Okay, let's see how you change a tire." I did not help them one bit. I was just
supervision
directed.
Every job needs a supervisor, as my dad used to say.
And I have not done this once. I have not done it twice. I've probably done it about a half a dozen times with my girlfriends, friends that are girls, and random people. They think I'm going to sit there and do all the labor. You're going to learn a lesson today. And, of course,
at least it's a valuable lesson.
It's a valuable lesson, and this is where it came true. They had one of the accordion jacks.
Oh, just the one that comes with the...
They tried to do it on gravel, and I was like, "Let's put this on flat surface."
Yeah, she really was going to lose her other leg.
She was trying to jack it up with her amputee leg. Thank God the amputee leg was under the car, so I couldn't get any worse. Couldn't get any worse than that.
Just have to buy a new prosthetic, I guess.
That's where I'm like, get your limbs out from underneath the car. And of course, there's still the one girl reading the book, being like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Put the book away, or I'm gonna throw it over the fence."
And I'm sure it was wait, no, that's not what the book says. Like, no, I think you're doing it wrong. That's what I used to do with my dad. It would be I will never forget. We were changing an alternator on a car. I was like, "It says we need to disconnect the batteries." Like, "Oh no, it'll be fine."
That's how you get a tool thrown at you.
Exactly. So there's a balance between like, okay, you're about to kill yourself, and the book says so.
Yeah.
Versus, all right, no, you teach me. I'll do it your way. I'll learn your way.
And one of these girls, she went home. I guess they lived right around the corner. Went home and grabbed a couple silver bullets, and was like, "Would you like one?" I'm like sitting on the back of my truck tailgate, and I'm like, might as well. I was like, "Turn off your lights, girls. We don't need the cops pulling up on us."
Yeah, we're already attracting enough attention.
So they sat there, and it took them about 45 minutes an hour to change the tire.
You look like a Northside pimp just watching your employees change
my employees.
Yeah.
That's man.
Exactly.
Yeah. My lot lizards were doing really good.
They're workers. We respect the sex industry workers.
But they did good. They did excellent. They learned why you do the lug nuts in a star pattern, because of, if you did not know, it makes it what's one of my things? Balanced.
Oh yeah, there you go.
It balances.
Yeah,
so you don't have any shaking
on one side, yeah.
No shaking.
But I love
that was hilarious.
I love the idea that the four of those girls will remember you forever. Next time, like it won't even be them that gets us. They'll just drive past somebody changing a tire on the side of the road, and they'll be like, "You remember that big guy that taught us how to do that?"
Exactly.
Wonder what he's doing right
at the end. They all were like, "I'm so glad that I learned how to change a tire." And I was like, now you don't have to wait for another big creep to come over here and say, "Hey, let me help you." And I was like, that's where I threw it off on them, is the fact that I didn't do any of the work. It kind of like they took them off guard and they let the wall down.
Yeah.
They learned.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm doing this as a father figure because I have a 19-year-old You know, you're almost as old as my kid.
I'm a father figure. You girls don't get any ideas.
But then I got to learn that, hey, do you guys have father? No, we're not going there. I was like, so you have daddy problems, huh?
Yeah, I was about to say that's a story for another episode. That's a story for a Twitch stream, maybe. Well, it's good to know that the girls are taken care of.
They got home safe. They even text me. They got home safe.
We made it home, Dad. Everything's good.
How they got my number, I don't know.
That's amazing.
I don't know.
It must have just gotten sucked in. It just got sucked into the group chat. I hear that happens a lot these days.
All right, we move on.
LG,
We're moving on.
LG, what do you have for the weekend? Besides scrambling to get all of this set up for us, which I think 45 minutes into it, so far so good.
Hey.
My weekend was pretty chill, man. I did nothing. So
I kind of feel like
I
we
just,
could just
sat around. I rearranged the studio, rebuilt some things, you know.
I kind of feel like we could just cut everything you just said right there and probably replay that most weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
my God.
I'm kind of a hermit these days. I don't get out much.
To get him out is a struggle.
Well,
I try to get him out at least once a week or two, and I don't know, man.
Well, here's the goal. Here is the task we have between us here in this room. Then, as I said, this whole show is it's the boys hanging out. Like, we're your boys, y'all are our boys. We're just hanging out. We're talking sports. We're talking about the crap we got into this weekend. We need to take it as our personal responsibility to get LG out more often. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy.
We'll see.
Like
as long as there's food,
that's like
I'm
pushing on a wall expecting it to move, man.
No, I was about to say, Sunday afternoon, not only did we get LG out for a happy hour, but he picked the place.
Hey, if you add food into
that's
the
my
mix,
spot, though.
If you add food in the mix, you might win.
Yeah.
I'm
all about that.
So I think we've already cracked the code.
Yeah,
I think
I've cracked this code.
Happy hour is the code.
Happy hour is absolute.
Yes.
Good Lord. Again, not a paid plug, but if you want to eat well for cheap,
Yeah.
Piranha Izakaya happy
All
hour.
four of us for
Good
$50.
Lord. Yeah.
And y'all had drinks?
A couple.
Just a one.
Nothing crazy. Yeah.
Just one.
We had
Just
one
one.
each, let the record show.
Yeah.
But again, we'll start every episode off the top. Probably, of course, won't go almost a full hour without talking sports normally. But again, this is a soft open. We had to set the table at the top before we got into our weekend recap. But weekend is now in the rearview mirror. It is in the past. Now we look forward. And that brings me to this coming weekend. Of course, Final Four is in town. We have all of the teams we know will be appearing, and it brings me. We're gonna talk at a larger level of what the tournament is when it's at its best, or what it is that we prefer to see. What we want in terms of the teams that make it to the Final Four, because for only the second time ever, y'all all know by now, all number one seeds will be at the Final Four. Coincidentally, it's the only other time was 2008, also here in San Antonio. That's when we got the Mario Chalmers buzzer beater for the Kansas National Championship back then in 2008. Chalmers makes the game winner in college, ends up making that three for the Heat later in his career when he got to the league. But only the second time that's ever happened. Saturday night, we're going to get Florida versus Auburn first, Houston versus Duke in the second game. And that brings me to my first point. We're not going to do – y'all all watched the games. You don't need post-game reports. And frankly, I'm married to a Red Raider. We're going through it right now. We're not going to talk a whole lot about how those four teams got to the Final Four. I will say just quickly about Tech, it feels like it was a rebalancing of purposes.
They shat the bed.
But they should have lost to Arkansas. The amazing 16-point comeback, biggest or tied for biggest comeback in Sweet 16 history. Force overtime, win that game in overtime, couple defensive stops.
That was an amazing game.
It was a great game. It was amazing. And then the other side of that coin is the way they blow the 10-point lead against Florida. Can't make any free throws at the end of the game. Again, I've said more than I intended to, but really, really was hoping we would end up seeing a Tech appearance down here because, having Duke, which if you can't see, I got my little Duke garden gnome here. He's missing part of his trident. That thing has traveled with me in multiple cities in this state.
That's nightmare fuel.
Duke is my team from childhood. I know that's generic small town white boy stuff. I mean, it's like Steve Wojo slapping the court. Of course, Grant Hill drinks Sprite. Christian, I could go through. The first team I really fell in love with was that Corey Maggette, Elton Brand, that kind of second era of the late 90s. But anytime Duke has a transformative talent like Cooper Flagg, like a Zion, anytime they have someone, well, frankly, that's going to be the 1-1 pick in the NBA draft, that's a year where I watch a lot of college basketball because I'm watching every one of their games. I couldn't get enough of Cooper Flagg this year. I also fell in love with a couple of guys that the Spurs might be interested in. Spurs looks like they're going to pick somewhere around the 8th and 16th pick in the draft. Spurs. That 8th pick could end up being, the Duke big man, Malawach, who just started playing basketball a couple years ago out of Sudan, I believe. And then the Con Knipple, the funniest name in college basketball this year.
Knipple.
It's the most Wisconsin name ever.
Love it.
I could have given you two guesses, and you would have either it's Minnesota or Wisconsin.
Somewhere in the Iron Belt.
It's the most Midwest name ever, and he's only turned out to show that he is a fringe top 10 pick. So we'll talk a little bit about the Spurs angle of it, but add Trey Johnson. When Texas has a top talent, Trey Johnson should be a top 10 pick as well. I think back to those, the back-to-back years of Durant at Texas and Michael Beasley at Kansas State, AC Law at A&M. Those Tech teams were good with Andre Emmett. So anytime there is a local appeal or local attraction, it's a year where I end up watching way more college hoops than usual. And I would say, this year, it was probably the most college basketball I've watched since the Zion year at Duke, since Zion blew out the pair of Nikes. So I feel like I'm being rewarded by the four teams that made it because I watched a lot of Houston Cougs game this year, watched a lot of Duke, watched a lot of the SEC, the best conference in basketball. And I'll pull up our text messages because Cap asked me the week the NCAA tournament started. It was from Cap, need a cheat sheet for some brackets, and this is what I said on Wednesday, March 19th. Okay, feels like a good year for 1 and 2 seeds. The top 8 teams were clearly better by a wide margin than the rest of the country this year. I think there will be a couple 4 and 5 seeds that lose, but I expect the Final Four to have no seeds worse than a 3 seed.
Yeah, you called it.
So you could see it, and I don't think I don't say that to have any kind of credentials established. It was just true if you watched college basketball all year. I mean, Tech was honestly, when I said any teams worse than a 3 seed, I thought Tech was gonna be there. And I know again that hurts to hear me say it because I know there's a bunch of y'all are either T-shirt Tech fans or alumni. And, ever since losing that national championship game to Virginia, when they should have won, Virginia forces overtime, end up losing.
They had some heartbreakers.
And they've just been right there on the cusp of getting back. That was a great Tech team this year. I thought they would be the 1-3 seed that would appear. But if you watched college basketball all year, you knew Duke was going to have a chance just because of how good Cooper Flagg was. And then when you saw the development of the other freshmen, Malawach and Knipple, mixed with Proctor and some of the veteran talent, it never gets old. I try to say it as often as possible. You could see that Duke was going to be a force. Auburn has grown-ass men playing. I mean, they have 4, 5, 6 year guys.
I haven't seen them struggle all tournament.
No, they are the most. I think the potential of a Houston-Auburn matchup in the national championship game, that's going to be a
Who's
mugging.
Auburn playing?
So Auburn plays Florida, and this is where
that little fellow in Florida, he's good.
Yeah, the Iona transfer.
Yeah,
he's
sure.
he's insane. But you look at that side. Florida has a couple 7-footers that will play in the NBA just because they're mobile 7-footers. They will find a home. But Florida doesn't really have that lottery.
Don't they have a 7'9" guy that's redshirted?
Yeah, but that's a bit. I mean, think about like Zach Edey now for the Grizzlies. His freshman year at Purdue, it took so much to get him to National Player of the Year by the time he was a junior and a senior. That kid at Florida has a long way to go. But neither Florida or Auburn have any of that upper tier lottery talent. They are just incredibly well coached, incredibly physical, and have the Florida kid can take over a game. Auburn, it's still the big man taking over. Broom, who got hurt but came back. I just wish these matchups were flipped. I wish the two SEC teams, like I've seen Florida and Auburn play each other twice already this year.
Oh, you want
or
the
3
trilogy.
times.
You want the rubber match.
I would just rather see.
But you want Duke to go to the finals. You want the rubber match, and you
I
want
wish it
Duke
was-
to go to the finals.
I wish it was Duke,
You want your cake
Houston.
and eat it too.
I wish it
all
was
that.
Duke,
All
Houston,
right.
and a national
We
championship.
can see the homer. We can see the homerism right now.
Yeah, I wish. Well, I mean, Houston's going to bring a hell of a crowd.
Yeah.
Short
They're
distance.
gonna be loud.
They're going to fill the dome. The dome's already. All the games are sold out. But I wish we were getting either Houston versus Florida and Auburn and Duke versus the other.
Well, we can't get it all.
I know, and
Can't have it all.
We already got what I was, hoping for to begin with. You mentioned that Florida team, that Auburn team, not really having a whole lot of the top tier talent, but what they have is the upward mobility of these middle of the road conference team. The mid-major players of the year are transferring to Auburn, to Florida, to Alabama. Alabama had the kid with the nasty mustache, white boy.
Oh, my God.
He was a small school transfer. A lot of people speak of NIL as the death of the sport, and it's making the upper tier of college basketball even better. And I argue, why is that a bad thing? Like, I don't want to see like the kid at Florida, the Florida point guard. I don't want to see him continue to play at Iona if he can be on the biggest stage for one of the 4 best teams in the country. That to me is a good thing, that the talent is moving to the top tier of the sport.
I feel like the NIL got rid of the participation trophies for the other schools who were hanging on one good, talented kid that they can make it to the tournament. We can get some Cinderella stories, but inevitably the better team, the better coach team, the bigger brand name, was going to win. And you're going to see them in the Elite Eight. You're going to see them in the Final Four, which is going to be a better game. It's going to be a better product. But, yes, we still will see Cinderella stories. But at the end of the day, when I'm watching the finals, I want the 2 best teams. I don't want the luckiest team.
And that's exactly where I fall, because I think, I had on the run sheet here, is the tournament better with upsets and Cinderellas or top seed chalk winning like we're seeing this year? And I understand, like the you mentioned in our pre-show meeting. Yes, we're doing pre-show meetings, believe it or not. You mentioned the Steph Curry Davidson years. Mm-hmm. That was so electric. Yeah. But never one time did I think Davidson was going to win a national championship.
When did they leave? Like Elite Eight, right?
Yeah.
They got. That's when
I think it was Sweet 16 one year and then Elite Eight the next year, maybe vice versa. And but still.
That's the exciting part. But right after Elite Eight, I want the best teams.
But that's the problem, because that year Davidson is upsetting the best teams to get there.
Yeah.
We had George Mason in a Final Four not that long ago.
But if you think Steph Curry didn't want to go to like a Kansas or George, I don't know if Georgetown was relevant then, or Duke or
Georgetown's always relevant in my book. I mean, they might not be, but I'll always remember.
But if he couldn't go to one of those after his first year at Davidson, and then all of a sudden he can go get a couple $1 million and go to somewhere where he actually has a chance to win the whole chip, I think Curry's going to take that. I guarantee you.
It'd be curious to see how NIL, how he would have handled it, because he would have had every off. Like
you know he's going to say he wouldn't have. I would have stayed at Davidson because Curry's so pure.
The perfect example. Now that you say that, Seth Curry, his brother, transferred to Duke.
See, there you go.
At that next year or 2 years later, and he obviously wasn't anywhere near as good as Steph. But he took that route that you're describing. I wonder if Steph would have if there had been more incentive like NIL at the time, because
he would have.
I mean, you could go out on a limb. I don't know. He loves that Davidson coach.
Yeah, but he's going to love that $1 million in the Duke jersey too.
That's fair. So I think at the end of the day, a 5-12 upset, those are the kind of upsets I like to see. Because a 5-12 upset doesn't destroy not that I care about my bracket, but it doesn't destroy the long-term potential for the best product rising to the top. A 5 seed, rarely is a 5 seed ever going to win the national championship anyway. So when a 12 seed beats a 5 in the first round, or an 11 beats a 6,
exactly.
that feels like we're, a 5 or a 6 seed was the middle tier team from the Big 12 or SEC. Right.
That's what's entertaining in the beginning of the tournament.
Right.
And then now we get down to the nitty gritty. Let's see the boys. Let's see the people who are actually going to win the thing, the top elite tournament, best coached.
Let's see the guys that are going to play in the NBA for a decade plus.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
Let's see the actual top talent play each other at the highest level of college basketball. And that's why, if you told me every year you could get 1 seeds in the Final Four and you weren't going to get any upsets in the first round, I would take that every year. Because at the end of the day, I want to see the 4 best teams, especially I go back to in a year like this, where the top 8 to 9 teams were just so much better.
And it's not like the one seeds didn't have adversity. I mean, Auburn was probably the only one that didn't really have so much.
But they
Florida
did.
had adversity.
Auburn, the first week of the season, the Auburn players were fighting each other on the charter jet. so much so that they had to turn the plane around as they were flying to a road game because 2 of the guys were beating the hell out of each other in the back.
Oh, they got TSA banned.
So Auburn, they had adversity, just not.
I meant through the tournament.
Yeah.
You're the only crazy one I know who watches college basketball when football's still playing.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Again, especially usually I don't lock into college basketball until some of the bigger holiday tournaments, and then of course conference play. But when there's this much potential generational talent in college basketball, man, I'm watching Duke beat the hell out of University of Maine in the 3rd game of the season because I want to see every second I can.
Psycho.
And that, you already knew that. So did most everybody else. That is where, specifically looking at the next kind of generation of where the NBA is going. We've talked a lot in the past about, the NBA is having a bit of a baton exchange right now. Yeah. You mentioned Steph Curry, 37 years old.
LeBron
Kevin
James,
Durant, 38. LeBron, 40. Chris Paul, 39, 40. All of these guys that have been great for so long. And I heard Bill Simmons talking about this. I've been listening to a lot of Simmons again lately too, because my NBA fandom is shifting. We'll talk about that later too. So I've gotten more back into the overall talk about the NBA as a league instead of just individual, team talk. The league is going through a generational shift. And we already see Tatum, we see Luka, we see some of the guys that are ready, Ja when he's not beating the crap out of a 15-year-old in a pickup game. We've seen the guys that are ready to accept the baton. But as much talk as there has been about this draft class coming up, we might already be seeing the guys that are going to form, because it's a sliding window.
So you're saying a super team could be formed through this draft with some already young talent.
Right. And
out there.
the overall
and passing of the old guard.
The overall level of talent in the league is about to have potentially the same kind of influx it had in 2003 when we first started to get Melo, D-Wade, LeBron,
Kobe was
Darko
shining.
Milicic,
Like Darko Milicic.
like when those guys went CP3 out of Wake, when those guys all entered the league together, it was like all of a sudden like, oh my God, every team has a superstar. Mm-hmm. I mean, like Utah had Darren Williams and Carlos Boozer, which were absolutely second tier to those elite guys, but that's still really, really good talent.
They could make the playoffs.
That's more talent than most NBA teams have right now. There is
more talent than Charlotte, whoever's playing on that team.
Yeah. I mean, well, they could be one of the teams.
They could be Cooper flagging it.
Yeah, exactly. To pair with LaMelo.
But I want to lead into your struggle. So let me hear about this now.
Oh, okay, yeah. So the struggle. I'll talk a little. I don't want to make it all about the Luka trade, but there are a few moments in my life of being a sports fan where a trade has actually emotionally affected me.
Give me your top three.
Luka.
That's number one.
It's no question.
That's number one.
It's no question. And there's really not even a close second. I mean, it's that one is just so every other trade.
Because you've been a Dallas fan. You've been a Dallas fan.
I mean, the Stars traded Mike Modano to the Red Wings. Like, that hurt, but it felt nothing like what the Luka trade felt like. The Rangers let let Gonzalez walk. Let
A-Rod walk.
A-Rod was fine. A-Rod could go the second.
He got us one chip.
They let Rafi go back to Baltimore. They traded Pudge to the Marlins to win a World Series. Like, man, he was
the heart of the Rangers.
And those stirred certain emotions, but again, nowhere close to the gut reaction to the fact that the lead insider in NBA circles had to tweet out, "I did not get hacked. This is real."
Oh yeah, I remember when it happened. Everybody looked at their phone and went to Google because they didn't believe it.
No.
I didn't believe ESPN.
No, you couldn't, because it was so unbelievable that it would even be a consideration.
And I know you've heard all the conspiracy theories about
and that's where we could run down. There's so many. I think at the end of the day, like most conspiracy theories, what usually ends up being true is that the dumbest, most obvious possible answer is the truth. Yeah. And I think the dumbest, most possible answer is that Nico Harrison is an absolute control freak, fragile man who didn't like the fact that Luka got more credit than him for everything.
And didn't want to deal with a child.
And the fact that
Luka's a child. Let's call a spade a spade.
He's a 25-year-old
on the
superstar.
Court, doesn't run back for defense. He's the most gifted person I've ever seen.
But you know what that equates to? Numbers that LeBron hadn't even accomplished by the time he was 25.
Ridiculous.
So I understand.
Ridiculous.
I understand all of the, and on top of it all, you were in all of those things are absolutely true. Those are all faults of his personally. But you were in the NBA Finals with him last year. You had constructed your entire team.
It was the Jerry Jones, Jimmy Johnson.
It's 1,000% what it was. But instead of it being owner and coach,
in Dallas can you get that drama.
Exactly. So, as you say,
so you're a Spurs fan.
No, well, hold on.
You're a Spurs fan.
Hold on. So this is the way I view it. I moved to San Antonio in February of 2011. So we have crossed the 14-year mark. I've lived in the city 14 years and 2 months.
San Antonio.
I lived in my hometown, obviously, for 18 years, the first 18 years of my life.
Yeah.
I am almost to the threshold where San Antonio is the city I have lived in the most my entire life.
Downtown by the stadium.
So, well, even more so if Project Marvel goes through, and we'll talk about that on another episode. But the thing is, and I've, of course, for the last month, talked to a lot of my, childhood friends, childhood buddies that we grew up going to Mavs games when Dennis Rodman got ejected and just set cross leg on the free throw line,
right on the bench.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not leaving. You ejected. I'm not going. You're gonna have to carry me out of here. Like we were Mavs fans when Mark Cuban managed a Dairy Queen because the league fined him for saying the head of officials couldn't even manage a Dairy Queen. We were, I remember going to Boy Scout nights whenever I was a little kid, where literally the only people in that arena were Boy Scouts.
So
that's the only way they could get people to go to the game was to give the tickets away for free. The 90s were
memory lane you're giving me.
The 90s were the worst professional sports run of any team in American history. The Dallas Mavericks winning percentage was absolutely the worst.
The green shirts.
The jerseys were fine. The jerseys were good. And everyone loved Toni Braxton in that locker room, which is why they had to trade everybody when she,
They were sidetracked.
That's correct. Yeah, they were distracted, let's say. So all of that being said, there's no scenario, there was a couple times where I had to stop myself from posting like, that's it, Mavericks. I'm done for, I'm not that guy. I'm not going to react.
We got Wemby. We got Castle.
I'm always going to have... The Mavericks are always going to be my childhood team. That's just the way it is. I grew up there.
But you grow up.
I fell in... Bingo.
You grow up.
We are about 3 years and 10 months before I personally feel comfortable saying I am a Spurs fan.
3 years and 10 months is your countdown clock.
18 years. When I have lived in San Antonio for longer than I lived in the DFW market, then I will feel comfortable saying, yeah, I'm a Spurs fan.
So this is my gotcha moment. So 18 years.
I'll find the date.
You lived
February
here and you're
2028.
And you're going to quit on an organization because of how poorly and how mismanaged egos take over all this stuff. Yes. And that is the Mavericks.
Yes.
So therefore, when that clock ticks, are you going to do it for the Cowboys?
Well, I don't have an alternative.
I got you. Come on.
What am I going to do? Be a
Texans
Texans fan?
It's the same thing. It's yin and yang. You're going to be a Houston fan?
That's so different.
You got the Mavericks, CJ Stroud.
That's so different. The Cowboys are.
Come on. You gave me a great reason why not to be a Dallas Mavericks fan anymore. So why can we not use the same logic for the Cowboys?
Because the Mavericks were never, ever the level of.
They won a championship.
Yeah, but it was.
They fought the Spurs, legendary fight.
But they were. It's the same
series.
way. They were always the Spurs' little brother.
Yeah.
They were always the little brother to the Lakers in the '80s. The Moody Madness could never get past them. The other time they were actually decent, good in their history. The Mavs were never. It feels almost like liking the Mavs was like liking a indie hipster band. It was like It's not.
It was cool.
In a weird way.
It was an America's team.
It's exactly right.
It was an America's
They never
team.
had the status anywhere close to what the Cowboys have. The Cowboys.
You know what I hear? Bullshit.
Well, maybe a little bit of stretching.
It doesn't matter where you are. You can have a team and be living somewhere else.
Oh,
that's all I gotta
hold
say.
on.
That's all I gotta say.
I don't disagree with you, but
Mr.
I do
Duke
think
fan.
if you grow up, yeah, right. Well, what was I going to be?
A Raider
Tarleton
fan?
State
A Texas
fan?
Tech fan? With the wife?
I was a UT fan. I loved Tom Pender's ball, Gabe Munecki back in the day. I saw Chris Ogden's bare ass when he mooned the team bus outside of the Spirit Arena in Lubbock one year. My mom would love that I told that story because she was standing right there.
These
Ogden
millennials
drops
in your
it,
trauma
shows
bragging.
it, and then realizes my mom. And he and me is like, "Ma'am, I am so sorry." And she's like, "Honey, I raised 2 boys. This is nothing. I'm not. I've seen it plenty of times. Like it was great." But I just think there's so many differences when it comes to being a fan of a football team than a basketball team. Basketball still feels, and the Mavs again, it was never a lot like the Rangers. You know, there were games where you could go buy cheapest seats and sit damn near on the court because there was just nobody there.
Yeah.
Cowboys in my lifetime, even this past year, as bad as things got, Jerry was still making money every home game. Because
he's a good salesman.
The apathy is not near what it was. Like that was the thing for me as growing
I'm just
up.
saying the argument's weak. Basketball is different. Dallas Mavericks are niche. Cowboys were established.
That's right.
Weak.
I think if you grow up in a city, it's really hard.
I grew up in Austin and then San Antonio when I was in middle school.
But you're a Spurs fan.
I'm a Spurs fan, but. What football team was I supposed to be?
Well, that's
I
where
was supposed to be a Cowboys fan.
Well, see, that's where I say it's different, though, because I know tons of Cowboys fans here in San Antonio, but I think it is different when you grow up in the market. Like you see,
I did grow up in the market.
No, but like growing up in the DFW area, like it's Cowboys, it's Stars, it's Rangers, it's Mavs. You have all 4. Throw FC Dallas in there.
I guarantee you, they go harder in San Antonio for the Cowboys than some of the DFW do.
1,000% they do. But I'm talking about the media influence, the amount of times you're getting nonstop propaganda about the local teams versus them just throwing a bone to a San Antonio station for here's a backup linebacker to do a weekly radio show.
The greatest sales pitch. This is our year.
Well,
and I love it.
Every year. I can already tell we're gonna have some heated arguments about fandom, especially once it gets to football season. Because for those that don't know, Captain is setting me up right now. He is a Niners fan.
Great team.
A Niners fan. Who, let the record show, Cowboys have won a Super Bowl.
1 year.
Are we not
with,
doing
with the OU Barry Switzer?
Are we not
with
doing
OU Barry Switzer?
Are we not doing math now? That's is that not the statement correct?
My favorite thing is Cowboy fans saying I would rather not go to the NFC Championship half a dozen times like we have, Super Bowl 3 times like we have. Because we lost.
I would
rather be the Cowboys.
Let's celebrate losers. No, I'm kidding. I know. I completely.
My heart has been broken way more than the Cowboys.
I'm a man that defends solid. I defended James Harden for years because if you put up the numbers, you get your team to the playoffs every year, and then you lose in the playoffs. At some point, you've got to get credit for doing what you did.
You got Jeff Garcia, T.O., Jeff.
I will give you credit for having more sustained success because I do believe, I defend the Cowboys previous 3 years winning 12 games every year. That's a huge accomplishment in and of itself. Is it the same as winning playoff games? Not even close. But you got to win the 12 games to get to the playoff games. And then, so I understand that logic, that argument.
24 days away. 24 days away. We'll get to it.
24 days till the NFL draft. We're going to talk a lot of NFL as we get closer to that. A lot of Cowboys talk specifically. Of course, the Micah contract situation still hanging over everything. We'll see what happens there. A last thought on college basketball real quick before we talk a little baseball opening week and get out of here. The men need to adopt quarters. It's
ridiculous.
It's beyond time now. Like what we were watching chick ball game earlier, the UT TCU game.
I like a good layup.
And fundamentals, they still count.
They pass the ball around the horn very well.
Future Dallas wing Paige Beckers had a career high game against
Only
Oklahoma.
you would know that. Only you would know that.
Because I can't help it. If there's sports on, I'm watching. And I will honestly, I am one of the guys that Caitlin Clark affected. It was actually appealing. It was actually good to watch. It was entertaining. It held my attention.
She looks like a bird.
Well, it doesn't matter. She looks like Larry Bird when she's shooting sometimes. But it's time. The fact that the boys play quarters in high school, and then they're the only ones that play halves in college. And
it affects everything. Timeout situation.
All of it.
Every game plan.
And why, at this point, what's the argument for it besides just traditionalism?
Yeah, there is no argument.
It doesn't feel like it. And if there is, someone tell me where I'm wrong. Because
Where's the advantage?
Believe
Where's
it or
the disadvantage?
Not, like, look at this. This does not look like a sports traditionalist.
Yeah.
I view myself like the baseball rules.
Yeah.
I was really hesitant to embrace.
I was against
it as well, and was really questioning the necessity of them. Why?
But it's not that bad.
I would argue
not that bad.
The pitch clock it removes some of the drama in playoff games.
The mind games.
The long holds on the mound.
The throw over.
Yeah, the pickoff attempts.
Yeah.
Those still kind of bother me, but they don't bother me as much as I anticipated they would.
Exactly.
The one that I will say absolutely I think saved the game of baseball more than, saved. It didn't need saving, but it helped.
I know what you're going to say.
You want to take a guess?
The batter with the gloves.
Okay, that's a good one too. That speeds the game up.
Yeah.
But eliminating the shift.
Oh, the shift. Yeah, I hated the shift.
Going back to playing baseball as it was for years, we were able to rely on gentlemen's rules of where you position your guys.
Yeah.
And then
play a position.
crazy Joe Madden changes all all Yeah. And he's right. It works.
But it creates a very boring game.
Incredibly. It creates a game where the outcomes are empirically reduced to either out or home run.
You take away talent.
Yeah.
Like you have someone that's incredibly talented, but he pulls the ball.
Yeah.
Now let's go ahead and take away this talent that can make the game more interesting by making it very much harder to where he should just lay down a bunt because there's no one at third. But that makes the game that would be boring to see a slugger lay down a bunt to third. Well, they'll stop. No, they're not.
They won't.
They're going to give up that first base and try to get a double play. They wouldn't stop doing the shift. So don't tell me they would. And a bunt was going to end all of it. It wasn't.
That's where I still view myself as a traditionalist. But if that's the only argument for keeping halves in men's college basketball, let's move on.
It's ridiculous.
Let's.
I think everybody's on board on that.
Yeah. Let's. So there. Last thought there on college basketball. Of course, as we get closer, you asked me pre-show when the NBA draft lottery takes place. May 12th, I believe. I looked it up. I think it's usually right there during that first round of the playoffs. So, of course, after we get through the NFL draft here at the end of April, we will turn our attention. Once we know for sure where the Spurs will be picking, then we'll have some deeper arguments because I wrote some names down,
it's your time to shine on that one.
What position are they looking for? Are we looking at guards? Is Trey Johnson going to fall? Is Jeremiah Fears going to fall? The kid from Oklahoma.
All depends on the lottery.
Jace Richardson just had a great NCAA tournament. Jason Richardson's son. He's probably going to be in that 8th pick range. Con Knipple, who we've talked about. If they go big, there's a couple of big man options that would be enticing to pay for or to pair next to Wemby. to be more of a defensive big man, allow Wemby to float and not have to worry about rim coverage as much. So we'll talk about a lot of because I'm an off-season guy. I love, I watch the games every night, but my favorite thing to talk about is off-season acquisitions, free agency, draft, trades.
Oh, that's where the drama comes
That's
in.
where it is. And so we're, fear not, we will talk a lot of NFL draft over the next couple weeks. And then after that, talk a lot of NBA draft as we start the countdown clock on my potential flipping of fandom there.
Good. I'm just saying, your argument's weak.
Well, and you know who else's argument? Like, the Mavs are undefeated when Anthony Davis plays since the trade. So Nico, it's even worse. Nico can say, look, y'all chant.
I was right.
Chant fire Nico all you want. I'm 6-0 when he plays.
Still the stupidest trade ever.
Well, yeah. And again, the fact that it's only 6 games because Anthony Davis immediately got hurt. The guy nicknamed Street Clothes gets hurt in his first game with the new team. Like, it's,
Street
enough
clothes.
of that.
I haven't heard that one.
I'm going to bring on, in the coming weeks, I'm going to bring on some of my childhood buddies, some of my Mavs fans, because we are going to have, I want to get there. I want to see where they are at in this process. Are they? Because the Mavs team of my childhood
Lakers
is
gear right now.
That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. So we'll talk about that more coming up. We've almost got an hour and a half here already. Let's roll into some MLB opening week thoughts, because this is my favorite. This month is my favorite time of year.
Oh, yeah.
Every year. I love the NCAA tournament. Will always be one of my, if not my favorite event. I love the NCAA tournament.
There's nothing like it.
You combine that with MLB opening day, the NHL and NBA seasons rounding into playoff positioning, starting their playoff run. This stretch from mid-March opening day through the NBA and NHL playoffs. This is my football season. This is the time of year I love. And so I'm in heaven right now. I got my Stars. The Stars are potentially going to break their all-time wins record. They're amazing. They make a big trade. The NCAA has all the number 1 seeds. My Rangers took 3 out of 4 from Boston to start the season.
Good job.
I bet you do love that, Mr. Yankee. We're going to talk about your Yankees because I teased earlier. They stole all the headlines, I think, this week besides.
Breaking record after record after record.
Well, you know who else broke records? Someone who you will appreciate seeing the demise of, Rafael
Devers. Oh, strikeout king right now.
Rough start to the year. So the Rangers win 3 out of 4 against Boston. Devers strikes out 12 times in his 15 at-bats in the series. And to make it even worse, earlier today, he struck out 3 more times. So what's that? 15 strikeouts now in 18 plate appearances.
He kills the Yankees. Like, I could not be happier. But, like, soon as he walks on and plays the Yankees, he's going to hit 3 for 4.
That'll be the slump buster. Yeah. I mean,
But we don't play Boston for another month. So let the slump continue. Let the Boston get in the hole, because I still will say AL East is the toughest division in baseball.
At least it's the toughest division in the AL.
All right, we could say
NL West would be.
Padres never live up. Diamondbacks are looking good. Dodgers,
Yeah, the Dodgers,
the Tokyo
Padres,
Dodgers.
Yeah, I probably top to bottom it is AL West. I'll give you that. The NL West is just so top heavy.
AL East.
Yeah, AL East. Yeah. The NL is just so top heavy with the Dodgers, but. You mentioned Devers will bust out of it against the Yankees. That's the thing about, taking these first 4 games of the season and extrapolating them out any further than just the 4 games we saw. Because if you think Rafael's going to strike out 75% of the time for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Law of averages happen.
It's going to balance out. He signs the 10-year, $314 million deal in the offseason. There's some pressure of that. He doesn't want to DH. The Red Sox signed Bregman, give him the third base job.
Yeah.
Tell him, you're the DH now.
Bregman didn't want the third baseman. He said, I'll play something else.
It's a weird vibe with Boston.
That's weird.
Right now, especially after just committing all that money to him. And on top of all of that, it should also be noted, I think he only had 5 at-bats in spring training.
Yeah.
So he's basically going through spring training.
It was like Aaron Judge beginning of last year.
Exactly.
If we took Aaron Judge without the beginning of last year, he would have broke so many records. 58 home runs, and he still didn't get a home run until he only had like 2 home runs in April.
Yeah.
And he had 58 at
and
the
then
end of the
ends
year.
up with, damn near 60.
And then something happened in the playoffs. I don't remember. It's gone.
I'm sure he would like to.
I don't even know who
I'm
won.
sure he would like to have that same loss of memory you have. But I think that
no one did, right?
the short, they just can't. There was another strike. There was a strike. The Expos won it. There's such a small sample size to take from this opening week that I think the same way you would talk about Boston's offensive struggles, I think you can say some of that might also apply to the Yankees' record-setting home run pace. And I understand we're going to talk about the bat.
The Brewers aren't no joke. They're a playoff team.
Right. And
they got some young talent. They got the Yelich back.
Yeah, Yelich back.
Yelich back. Man, that guy was an all-star 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, he was...
Yeah, I mean, he's a
might
solid
be a
player.
Former MVP, or he was second in
Not
MVP.
all-star. He was MVP. That's why. He was MVP.
Yeah. But Yankees go out, tie the record, 15 home runs in the first 3 games of the season, and
did we lose you on camera?
The biggest storyline is the new bats they're using.
The bats,
and this is where I want to specifically talk. We're going to talk a lot of Rangers and a lot of Astros throughout the season. Both teams integrating new pieces, losing some pieces. But the story coming out of the first week of the season are these new bowling pin bat.
So this is a normal bat.
Torpedo, tornado, what are we calling them?
They're called home run bats. So this is a normal bat right here.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah.
Most overrated.
Is that Derek Jeter's Hall of Fame bat? Yes, that is.
Shortstop.
So if y'all can't see it right there. The sweet spot is what we call right here. All right? This is the sweet spot right here. That's the biggest part of the bat. That's where you want to hit the bat. So when people say he pulled his hands in on an inside pitch, they're trying to get the sweet spot inside so it can hit the furthest it can, and you get that crack at the bat. When you hear that crack at the bat, they're hitting the sweet spot. So the torpedo bats have made this part smaller, and they put the big part bigger here.
So again, like they're calling it a bowling pin. So just imagine the end of a bowling pin and how it gets smaller at the end instead of getting extended thick like that. Okay, God,
you're the champ.
Yeah. So the thing that interests me, I don't really care, or I don't really think that there's a whole lot of controversy because every team can do it.
They've been playing with this bat in spring ball and fall ball for the past 2 years.
Right.
This is not new. It's only new because the Yankees came out and actually used it during regular season. And you had Bellinger, former MVP. He has success with it. Guess what? That kid's going to have success with the regular bat. Volpe, I think he's the biggest one that actually is going to get advantage of it because he always hit it on the inside of his bat. We thought he was going to be a breakout star. He was going to be our shortstop.
Might have just been a year too early.
It might have been a year, but he's
still a stud.
He's sold. He's come out on record and said, "I'm sold on this bat."
Oh, I saw Jazz Chisholm say earlier. He's like,
Chisholm.
Why would I change?
Why would I not give myself an advantage if it's not against the rules?
It's literally like bitching about the rich person that doesn't pay his taxes.
Yeah.
Then change the rules. Then change the tax
Change
code.
the rule, but like
you'd be stupid not to use the tax cheats, the tax workarounds,
Yeah.
or the bowling pin bat.
we're not corking
if
our
it's
bats.
all legal.
We're not
right.
Sammy Sosa in it.
Right.
You know, we're just the first ones to use it. And you know what? The
You
catcher,
won't be the last.
The catcher from the Cleveland Indians already using
Yeah.
it. Everybody will start. There's someone in the team, and every team will use one of these bats for their mid-range players, not their heavy hitters. Because when Judge was asked, "Why don't you use a torpedo bat?" he said, "I think my stats speak for themselves."
Hard to argue.
Hard to argue.
I mean,
62, 58 last year.
which
Like
that's the
he
part.
hits the sweet spot.
That's the part where, again, it's really easy to see the potential advantage it gives an average player
Yeah.
to become potential all-star level contributor.
And I watched all three of those games. 80% of those home runs, high fastballs.
yeah.
And you got Nestor Cortez, someone that we had the Yankees, and I love me some nasty Nestor. Love you, Nestor. Thank you for what you did for us. We should have got a chip, but he lost his stuff. He lost his stuff. That's why we got rid of him. Last year, he was a shell of himself. The year before, he was great. The year before that, he came off. He was supposed to be a long inning reliever, but we needed a starter. And he became a starter for us, and he had success with his crazy movements, different. He would release the ball in different angles, so your eye is not picking it up at the same place every time. But the Yankees knew him, and every time his fastball only goes up to about 92, and sometimes he doesn't get it high enough out of the zone or on the edge. And it's just a high fastball, just a big old meatball for you to hit it out to our short right porch.
And when you have a bat that allows you to put the sweet spot on an inside fastball a lot easier and get around on it, like it makes, again, I don't feel like the story, to me at least, the story is not that the Yankees are using them. It's that the league has such vague rules about specific dimensions of a bat that an MIT graduate was able to design something that gives his team the advantage. And that's where the interesting thing to me is the development and the process that got us here versus the fact that the bats are being used. Because I do think baseball.
You're thinking more, and there's another analytics type thing.
I think baseball now, they have shown that they are not scared to change the rules.
No.
They're not scared to be like, this gives teams a analytic advantage that runs the game.
But I'll tell you one thing right now. Why they're not going to change it, and the reason why they changed the shift is because baseball likes runs.
It likes offense. And
they want to see runs. They want to see
where-
home runs.
If
They let them juice up for fucking 10 years.
If
Whoops.
you asked me how baseball is going to handle this, I think there's a better chance that they just say, look, they're legal. Y'all can all use them.
Yeah.
Versus them saying, no, we're taking them away.
Everybody can use them.
Right.
They don't have a patent on them.
So the reason the Yankees are the first team to do it, this guy named Aaron Leonhardt.
Oh, yeah, we bought
He's
him.
the mastermind behind the torpedo bats. He earned his PhD from MIT. Shout out MIT. My cousin.
Isn't that in Boston?
Yeah, in Boston. Yeah, she's a nuclear physicist from MIT, Navy. Yeah. He worked on a NASA-funded research team, and then he was a physics professor at University of Michigan for 7 years. So the guy is going through his life, being a physics nerd, being a borderline
Probably loves baseball.
genius, loves baseball because usually baseball is the
a
sport.
numbers game.
It's numbers game. It's the sport
You're going to
that
get the math guys. I'm a math
crunchers-
guy. I
Yep.
love the numbers.
So at 40 years old, he decides to leave academia. He starts, takes a job at Dawson Community College in Montana before becoming a minor league coach for the Yankees. So it was his role with the Yankees was basically.
Man, that's inside knowledge. I didn't even know. Man.
I did some because I was so interested to see how this, like, how it came about, like, because it wasn't like.
So that's why he specifically can't design it for other teams.
Exactly. So he can't. I mean, the design is out there.
That's just smart poker right there, baby.
It's not exclusive to the Yankees.
Find your own nerd.
But they just got it first because they got the nerd first.
Yeah, you can find your own nerds.
Again, it's the same way like the Rays were the first team to do the shift because they had a nerd that said
they were the first team.
Mathematically, this will serve an advantage to us.
Rays 3-inning pitchers.
So this guy, Lienhart, he gets moved up to the big league club, and he basically serves as like a translator for all of the deep analytics nerds the Yankees had on staff and Aaron Boone and the coaching staff. He serves as that middleman to be like, well, look, this is what the numbers say, but, this is...
He's sizing up every player.
Exactly. This is how it can kind of be applied to the big league roster.
Volpe, you're missing your inside. That's why you're getting weak grounders to this. You're not... if you actually had the sweet spot, you would have got an extra 20, 30 feet.
Exactly.
And with that short porch or this, why not? Why not use it? I mean, again, baseball's all been about mathematics and numbers.
And it's like the rich guy, not like why would you choose to pay more in taxes when you can legally pay less? That's what the Yankees are doing. Why would we choose to use an old bat when we can, by the rules, use this?
You got the Mets spending
tornado
a fortune.
Yeah,
buying Juan Soto. I still have feelings about that. Buying anybody they can, and we over here sneakily got a nerd to become a minor league coach, and
and all of a sudden, Jazz Chisholm is Juan Soto 2.0. No, I think it'll be. Here's the other thing, and I think you'll agree with this. If it was Tampa that was using these
they'd
bats,
be celebrating them.
We're
the evil empire, man. We're the evil empire.
I think the fact that it's the Yankees draws so much more attention to it that it's a story that's not going to go away.
I couldn't find my Bronx Bombers hat. We're a team that hits home runs. We're built for home runs. And surprisingly, we set a record for home runs on the opening day. Wow.
Who saw that coming?
Who saw wow, this is so amazing. And it's only because of the bats.
Yeah.
It's not because Aaron Judge. It's not because Wells, our catcher. It's not Chisholm. It's not anything. No, Bellinger coming over. I feel he's going to have a breakout year. He's going to come back.
He's
healthy.
For that part.
I mean, it's not because of that at all. It's the bat.
Yeah. It's all the
bats.
Again, I think because it is the Yankees, eventually we're going to get some kind of response from the league, but we'll see.
Not this year.
I'd be curious to see. Well, they've made changes at the All-Star break before. Like, I would be curious to see if they do. That's 1,000% what happened. But
they strike.
I'm curious to see what the league's response is going to be because they're going to have to say something because it is
this
the Yankees.
This story's on CNN.
But I also, great example.
I just saw that.
When sports crossover.
Jake Tapper is talking about this. Oh my God!
Noted Philadelphia.
I saw that when I left my house, and I'm like, "Oh, this story's gonna have a 2 weeks shelf life. Everybody's gonna get their own nerd, and they're all gonna be using torpedo bats. And guess what? The Yankees are still gonna be bombing home runs. It's what we do.
Or could absolutely be the case. Or kind of like we were talking about with Devers, the strikeouts are going to average themselves out.
Yeah.
The Yankees home runs are going to average themselves out.
The first game, we only scored 4 runs.
Right.
The first game, we had 2 ridiculous games.
The Yankees aren't going to hit 15 home runs every series as a team.
We scored 4 runs the first series.
So
the first game.
We'll see.
And almost blew a save.
Don't. Hey, buddy.
Hey, you got a long year. Let's get it.
Don't even talk to me about blowing saves right now. The Rangers have no closer on their roster. Man. We have Luke Jackson as the best option right now. So we'll talk. We'll talk a lot of Rangers and Astros in the coming weeks and of course talk Yankees because the AL race this year I think is potentially really, really exciting. Because you got to say the Yankees are the favorite since they were the representative in the World Series last year.
But we don't have our ace.
don't have your ace, and you lost Soto, which it is what it, we'll see. But losing him to, crosstown rivals to the Mets, the AL, Astros lose Bregman.
Yeah.
Rangers add pieces to their lineup that complement really well, but they don't have a full 5-person rotation, and much less and their bullpen is even worse, in an even worse position. So I think there's going to be, and one of those AL Central teams always becomes a thorn in the side. Oh, yeah. Whether it's going to be
Kansas City.
Kansas City has the second
Bobby
best
Witt,
player in the American League, the best player not named Aaron Judge. Bobby Witt Jr. is a stud.
Yeah,
Bobby Witt Jr. might be the third best player in all of base, or maybe fourth if Trout is healthy.
Yeah, he's a young Mike Trout.
Ohtani, right, Trout, Judge, and then it's probably Bobby Witt Jr. if we're talking position players. So the AL, I think, is completely wide open. The Dodgers are just such massive favorites in the NL. It would be...
How do you defer all that money? I want to know the secret to that. You just, hey, we're just going to catch every player. No, we're going to defer 30 years down the line. You know what
the great thing about baseball is, though? You really can't buy a championship.
No.
It's
streaky.
They're still going to have to rely on injury luck. Mm-hmm. They're still going to have to rely on guys replicating previous years' performances. I think it would be a massive surprise if the Dodgers aren't in the World Series. But the NL race this year is not nearly as exciting to me as a little bit of animosity between Padres and Dodgers. That's fun.
Yeah.
The Mets have spent a crap ton of money.
Yeah.
But we'll see what that works. And
how'd that work out for them last year?
Well, yeah. Something I don't like from opening week, as much as I don't particularly care what happens to the Astros, I hate seeing them open with an interleague series.
Ugh.
Seeing the Mets in Houston, and I know the Astros were longtime NL, but you're an AL team now. Let's play. Yeah. Let's make interleague somewhat exclusive.
You should be playing division. I think the opening day
that'd be
gotta
great.
Play division.
Start with division games. I completely agree. And to make it even worse, the Astros. So they opened with the Mets at home. They're now traveling to San Francisco to play the Giants. Back-to-back interleague series to start, and it doesn't matter because everyone's got the DH, and it's not the same. And it really, at this point, it's basically like
that's nostalgia.
It's like the Spurs playing the Bulls. It's like a Western Conference team playing in. They play with the same rules now, so there's no
history between them.
But it still just kind of bothers me when I see it in the box score. You want to go on the record with a. You want to make a AL, NL, just throwaway prediction?
Rematch.
I kind of think so, too.
Rematch.
Yeah, unfortunately. I think so, too, but I do think the AL...
Unfortunately for the Dodgers.
I think the AL is going to have a lot more storylines, which lines up well with our content, because Dr. Pepper Jr. Ranger, since the 90s, a Yankees fan.
I'd like to see y'all make the playoffs and see all these Astro fans become Ranger fans.
And I know the majority of most people out there watching, listening, are Astros fans. So hopefully, on paper, those are the three teams that we're talking about the most as the season goes along. Cap.
Hey, it was fun.
I believe we are coming to the close of our official super soft opening for friends and family here. Coming up on the pod, rest of the week, Wednesday, I'll have an episode. I'm gonna start having Bama Brown. If you haven't listened to the podcast I do with him, the Bama Brown Experience, wherever you get your podcast, I'm gonna have him on a lot of Wednesdays, but I'm also gonna use Wednesday as my episode to have with potential, like one of my old Mavs fans, call them up and talk about the Luka trade or focus on a specific topic instead of doing a full episode. But I'm still, Wednesday and Friday episodes will still have, I'll be honest, I'm kind of copying Bill Simmons in a way because I've been listening to it a lot more recently. You'll get 10 to 20 minutes at the beginning of me doing the monologue basically as like a late night show, stand up monologue. I'll talk at the beginning and then we'll have a guest. And then Fridays, we're going to go back to doing something I really, really enjoy, and that is Who Won the Internet with the roommate. So Steph will join me Fridays. Bama will join me most Wednesdays. And then, of course, Cap and LG here. We will be live Monday nights on YouTube, on Twitch, at Sports Cave Live. Again, I cannot tell y'all how much the support has meant to get to this position, to get to this spot. And now I am beyond stoked. I'm trying not to drive the guys crazy here with my level of excitement for what we actually are planning on building, and not just planning on it, but can actually see where we are going. We're
More
in the
content.
car, we're going down the highway.
We're going to do different stuff, man.
And I can see
I love it.
the mecca of where we are traveling to. As far as tonight, we got Stars at Kraken, late night hockey, Magic at Spurs tomorrow night. So hopefully the Spurs break that 4-game losing streak. Although,
Nope.
at this
Don't do
point,
Don't do it.
keep losing games.
Don't
Help
do
that
it.
draft status.
We have a plan.
This is a great draft, so let's not get too crazy. LG, whenever you are ready, my man, I think it's about time we get out of here.
Let's call it. It's beverage time.
Holy hell, we went to it. Yeah, we're out of here. Let's get out of here. Get us out of here, LG. Oh.
Kids, what do we say about drugs?
Only thugs use drugs. Say no to drugs.
Yeah!